Hyperspace interdiction, or the ability to pull ships from or prevent ships from going to hyperspace, has a long and complex history in Star Wars. At certain points, it's a very common technology used to force enemies into unfavorable engagements, but at other points, hyperdrive technology has advanced in ways that render existing interdiction technology useless. During the Imperial period, interdiction is making something of a resurgence after being somewhere between non-existent and exceedingly rare as a ship-based technology within the Republic and CIS, though things like interdiction mines did exist, although it remained incredibly rare and expensive. Some ships like the Immobilizer 418 and Interdictor Star Destroyer were developed around the use of gravity well generator technology, and the Corellian CC-7700 was another example of such a ship. Thrawn in particular used a lot of interdictors in his strategies. Other factions, like the nomadic Vagari of the Unknown Regions, had other forms of gravity well projectors that were then stolen by the Chiss, and had existed and been in common use by them for decades before the Imperial period. For much of the time under the Empire, once an enemy had such a piece of technology, there was little you could do to bypass or escape it aside from destroying the often very expensive and well-protected ship carrying it. But one planet was able to develop technology in this time period to penetrate gravity wells with their hyperdrives, and that planet was Bakura. Bakura was a planet in the fringes of the known galaxy who became the victims of an attack by a species known as the Seruvi, who we've covered many times on this channel before. And it was also a famous major producer and innovator of repulsor technology. After fighting off the invasion of the Seruvi with the help of the rebels, later the Republic, they began the development of their own defense fleet, including two new ship classes, the Bakura-class destroyer, named after their homeworld, and the Namada-class light cruiser, named after a type of fruit. There's not many good images of these ships, so aside from this official drawing, I'll be using some footage from a mod I work on, Thrawn's Revenge, where Aceritzel and Mr. Puerto Rican, two of our artists, have made some 3D assets for them. Some of these ships, only 4 as of the year 18 after the Battle of Yavin, were equipped with a system called a Hyperwave Inertial Momentum Sustainer, or HIMS system. While these systems did not allow ships to jump to hyperspace under the effects of an interdictor, they prevented ships from being pulled from hyperspace. Essentially, if they jumped in under the effect of a gravity field unexpectedly, a series of coils would burn out in sequence, allowing the ships to rapidly enter and exit hyperspace in small skips to cross the gravity well. They couldn't do this indefinitely, but it was enough to get through pretty much any typical gravity well that could be generated. These were most famously put into use in the Corellian trilogy, where they were introduced, when Luke called in the help of the Bakurans to penetrate the gravity well being generated by the Corellian Centerpoint Station, allowing them to get in as far as Solonia, well within the bounds of the gravity well, where other ships couldn't get. While the Bakuran forces were heavily damaged during the battle, including the loss of their commanders, Admiral Ocelage and former love interest for Luke Skywalker, Gariel Captason, the time they were able to buy using this technology allowed the forces of Admiral Akbar to come in and recapture Centerpoint Station, putting an end to the first Corellian insurrection. The technology, described as a, quote, brute force engineering job and providing, quote, quite a ride by Admiral Ocelage, was also put to use later by the Galactic Alliance forces against the Yuuzhan Vong, allowing them to invade Vong interdiction attempts using their black hole generators known as Dovin basils. It's otherwise quite obscure and underused bit of technology, but it does show something we don't often see explicitly within Star Wars, technological advancement, and it helps put into context the broader history of what seems like a persistent and constantly available technology being interdiction, and show how even within that, it does change over time. It's just the end effect of the technology, this arms race of interdictors and ways to bypass them or get around them, leads to ultimately the same place in what it appears at the end. Either way, that's going to do it for today's video. If you've enjoyed, consider leaving a like or subscribing for more. If there's a topic you'd like to see me cover in the future, leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.